Malo lele, talofa lava, nisa pulavinaka, kia orana, kamna meuri, whakalawalai atu, talofa ni, and welcome to Wave of the Moana 2022. Welcome in the language, the beautiful Pacific languages of your ancestors, and especially of the women who have raised you. Happy International Women's Day. I know if you guys are tuning in right now, you guys are tuning in for Wave of the Moana. We are here to celebrate our beautiful wahine, our Vaine Toa, and I can't wait to get started. I can't wait to join this conversation, this talanoa that we're going to have with this beautiful panel that you see in front of you today. So welcome again. If you're tuning in, welcome to our International Women's Day event. Like any other Pacific event that we do, we obviously open up with a local. So if I could please invite Sarah Jane from Pasifika Medical Association to please open us with a blessing, Malo Pito.
Malo lava, whaftai tule lava. Malo le saifua maua ma le langi a mama. So excited to be able to join such amazing, talented women here online today. So I'd like to open up and welcome everyone that's tuning in to listen to our talanoa today, which is going to be really, really exciting. Let's take a moment to pause and reflect. I actually have a really awesome proverb that I'd like to share with you all about building up each other. And it's from Proverbs 15:30, and it says, "A cheerful look brings joy to the heart. Good news makes for good health." So I think today this platform is all about having good health with one another. So let's pray. No matau tamai le langi, whate tele lava mo le alofa mo le angalele. We thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to connect together as women of the Pacific. And we ask that you be with us who are all sharing today, to our amazing listeners and audience online. We give you thanks and praise for this time and the amazing celebration of women at International Women's Day. Amene, marulava.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for that beautiful blessing and that proverb. Thank you again. If you're just tuning in with us, this is Wave of the Moana 2022. This event is run by Pasifika Medical Association and Pacific Media Network, and we have Leone here, who's also representing Fia Men. It's International Women's Day. I believe personally, and girls on the screen, you can agree with me or not, I believe it's International Women's Day every single day. I believe that we deserve to be celebrated. We should celebrate the women who raised us, the villagers that, built the foundations that we stand upon today, and who have paved the way for us to have spaces like this. So while it is International Women's Day today, every day is a celebration of our Pasifika wahine, and that's what makes me excited about getting into this talanoa today. Just a few housekeeping rules for those of you who are tuning in. We have the comment section open on this chat right now. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask any of the people on the screen, or even general questions for Pasifika Medical Association, Moana Women's Network, PMN, please feel free to put that in the chat. We have a team moderating. We have ourselves who are multitaskers. I know that we also can see the comments in the chat. So please feel free to do that as well. Aside from that, I would love to open up the space in a really fitting way. I'm honored to introduce our Chief Executive, Ms. Debbie Sorenson. She is a fierce leader for all of us. CEO of Pasifika Medical Association, Pasifika Futures, President of the Moana Pacific Women's Network, and she is here today to open up the space with a fitting keynote address. So I'll pass it on to you, Debbie Malopito.
Malo pito, Emily, and welcome everyone this afternoon. Kia ora koutou, talofa lava, nisa bulavanaka, whakalotalahi atu. Kia rana and malolo malie to all of you, and I greet you in that particular manner because you are all really important people, most importantly really important women. You are mothers, sisters, aunts, granddaughters, grandmothers. You do everything that holds our families and our communities together. So for an hour, one special hour this year, we get to hang out with each other, and for that I'm incredibly grateful. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the women in my life, and I'd like to start with my great-grandmother, Olivia Tauwha, who hails from Hapai, my grandmother, Laloma Stewart, who hails from Leimatua, my mother, who is actually in the room next door listening to this, who's 90 years old, Olga Sorenson, my daughter and my daughter-in-law, Rose and Mata, and my granddaughter, Lily Rose. And so I think through the generations of the women, you know, just to name a few of those who are closest to me that have supported me in my role, and we work as a collective, and it is so important to be encircled by that love. The theme this year is break the bias, and we all know about bias. You know, people talk about the inequities for women, for gender. The inequities are even worse, actually, when we look at the diversity of women in our workforce, in our families, in our communities. And so when we think about that, breaking the bias, I think, is a really important topic for us. And I think the place it needs to start first is with us. That often we have a view about what we can't do. We have a view about how limited we might be. There are some amazing women on this Zoom tonight who have demonstrated how there is no limit to what can be achieved, how the only person that constrains us is often what's in our head, and that we can't give other people power to actually control what we can and can't do, and that we should constantly be reaching for our dreams, and we should be constantly understanding that we can do and be anything that we want. And so I think it's really important. And part of that is about owning our own stories in our own way and doing that through our own processes. And so understanding our story, understanding where we come from, who we are, how amazing we are, why we bring things that other people don't bring, and why we are so special in ourselves. And to put away those voices that tell us that we're not that special and that we can't do everything that we want to do. Love is the most important thing in our lives. And I think for Pacific women, love really is what drives us in a whole lot of different ways. You know, love for me makes me angry and furious and fearsome. Love for me makes me courageous because I'll fight for those that I love and for those who need fighting for. You know, love is our passion, and that really makes us special. And I think for Pacific women, we have a particular brand of love that we wield with all of its power, all of its specialness. It's combined with our faith, with our spirituality, and with all of the strengths that come around us. And so we are just incredibly special. I think as part of that, we need to love ourselves first, and we need to spend time doing that. And this 1 hour today is an example of that, where we've stopped everyone else from interfering. My boss actually rang me about 5 minutes before we started, and I just deleted his phone call. For those of you who know who I work for, you'd find that extraordinary. But there you go, because he's not the most important person in my life right now. You all are. It will be a dreadful shock to him, I need to say. But I think it's really important that first of all, we need to be who we really are. We need to be confident that we can be authentic. And we need to really embrace ourselves so that we can do and have what we really need. So first of all, being really authentic. We need to give up on being perfect. I still try to be perfect. I get a panic attack when people turn up at my house that I'm not expecting because I'm worried that my house won't be clean enough. I worry about my aunties turning up and opening my cupboards. I'm constantly worrying that I'm not a good mother, but I've come to terms with the fact that I'm not, so it's all good. That thing I've actually dealt with. But I think as I started off with, breaking the bias starts with us. We need to be courageous, we need to be strong, we need to be fierce, we need to be everything. We need to stand alongside each other, we need to embrace our own diversity. We need to ensure that no one is left behind and make sure that we are all included. There is a place and a space for all of us. One small act of kindness every day makes a huge difference. And I've been the recipient today of a couple of dramatic acts of kindness, and it's actually really, really made a difference to me today, because as a leader, it's not something that often happens. And so that kindness, of course, has come from other women, from other sisters. And I thank you all for joining us today. It is indeed an absolutely humble pleasure. Malo pito.
Mahalo pito, Devi, for that beautiful, beautiful opening address. You know, I heard you talk about love and how that was a massive driving force for our Pacific women. And, you know, I'm a recipient of the love that I've been showered with from the women in my life. You talked about, you know, reaching for our dreams and owning our stories, understanding our stories and understanding who we are. And I realized, and I did this last year as well, I forgot to even introduce myself. So today I'm going to introduce myself after this, but, you know, it's important for us to understand who we are, where we come from, who we come from. And I thought it was really fitting that you also acknowledged the women in your life before you even went into your address, that you acknowledged, you know, your grandmothers, your mothers, your daughters, your granddaughter, Lily Rose. And I think that's important for us, because we as Pacific women, we know that we don't stand alone. We don't come alone. There's a whole lot of other women out there that we bring with us. So thank you, Debbie, for that. What I also got from it was be authentic and not perfect. I am exactly the same. I am a perfectionist by trade, but I think it's important for us to know that being authentic and being our truest selves is probably the reward, because we get to show that to everyone else. And there is a place and space for us in everything that we do. And Debbie, you embody that in everything that you do. If there is not a place that you see, you'll make a space for yourself. And I think that's inspiring and encouraging for all of us. So malo pito, Debbie. Thank you so much for that beautiful address. We can't really clap on here, but you know, if we were to clap, if we were to click our fingers, that would be for you. So malo. I don't know if anyone else feels really motivated to get into this, but I feel really encouraged. So thank you, Debbie. Like I said, I completely forgot to introduce myself. I've done this before, but I will introduce myself because I do have a whole lineage of women that are included in my name. So malo lele, my name is Emily Ann Liliani Ruby Mantisa Muli. I come from the mighty villages of Fomotu and Kanokpolu in Tonga. I am part of Pasifika Medical Association, and I too am a Pacific woman who just wants to be in this space to take some time away from the craziness and the chaos of the world right now to spend time with you all. So thank you again for joining us. Okay, before we get into this beautiful panel, again, if you're just joining us, welcome to Wave of the Moana 2022. If you have any comments, any questions, please feel free to put this in the chat below. We've got a team looking after it. We might be able to ask some questions at the end of this panel too. And we've also just released a little self-care guide curated by the Moana Pacific Women's Network, and in there is a Spotify playlist to some of the songs that get us going. So feel free to check that out as well. Just a little plug there. But if you're joining us, welcome. This is a space for all of us to share. Okay, now for this beautiful panel, I would not do it justice if I were to introduce this beautiful panel myself. So panel members, if you are ready, I would love to do a round table for you guys to introduce yourselves to whoever's tuning in, your name, what you do, where you're from, and let's get the ball rolling. So I might start with Itangia. Malo.
Talofa lava, my name is Itangia Tungi Fa'avaonga. I am full Samoan and I come from the villages of Awhenga in Upolu and Sava'i. I'm the head girl of Otahu College and definitely grateful for the opportunity to lead my school and also this opportunity to come and speak upon our experiences alongside such inspiring Pasifika women.
Papitai Tingia, I think I can speak on behalf of all of us when I say we are very, very proud of you for all your achievements. So well done. And again, we have amazing people on this panel, so thank you so much. I'll hand it over to you, Brianna.
Thank you, Emily. Talofa lava. My name is Brianna Fruin. I'm a city girl raised in the big city of Apia in Upolu, Samoa. I grew up there most of my life, and I've been in Auckland for the past couple of years. I do climate change work, which is really the space where I've been able to link up with so many amazing women, and why I've been afforded the space to be here tonight. And so I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you, Emily.
Hi, Brianna. Like she said, she's a powerhouse in the climate space. I think we were in Madrid together, COP25, and I saw her in action, and it's amazing and an honor to have you here with us. So thank you. I'll hand it over to you, Michaela.
Kia ora everyone. My name is Michaela Te Here Itipai. I was born in the Cook Islands, from the islands of Atiu, Mangaya and Mitiaro, otherwise known as the Mighty Arrow. I'm currently in my 4th year of the Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery program at the University of Otago, and so I'm based in Christchurch for my clinical attachments. It's a blessing to be surrounded by such beautiful and intelligent women, and I look forward to tonight's discussion.
Meitaki, Michaela, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for the work that you're doing, putting in the hard mahi as a med student. I can only imagine, especially navigating in this time, in this day and age. So thank you so much for taking your time to join us. Tupo, I'll hand it over to you.
Hello, hopefully it's going okay with the sound, but my name is Paul and I'm born and raised in New Zealand. Born and raised and my parents are both from Tonga. My dad from Wailua, my mum from
Thank you, Tupo. I think we were lagging just a little bit there, but that's okay because I know that you're from Fumotu. So I'm going to claim that. I know we're family, sis, so thank you for joining us. And we'll navigate this whole Wi-Fi Zoom era together. But if you don't already know, Tupo is an incredible athlete, a Paralympic gold medalist. And again, we are so proud of you. So thank you so much for joining us. We will figure out this technology together, but malo pito for joining us. I'll hand it over to you, Felicia.
Thank you, Emily. My name is Felicia Byrne-Acton. I hail from the beautiful village of Whineoneha, Kupuatua, from the magical, mystical rock of Polynesia, Niue Island. Fantastic to be here to share space in Talanoa with you amazing and inspiring woman. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Pagoelahi, Felicia, thank you so much for joining us. It is an honor as well to share this space with you, especially with the work that you have done for our community, for the Pacific Rainbow community. You are a powerhouse in your own right. So pagoelahi for joining us. And Dr. Flora, I would love to hand it over to you.
Hello, my name is Flora Lutui. I am from Tonga, from Tongalele Ha'apai in Tonga, and I'm a pediatric doctor. I'm currently taking some time out to do some study, doing postgrad diploma in pediatric infectious diseases. So it's great to be here tonight.
Malo pito, Dr. Flora, all those words I probably can't spell, but thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for the work that you do in the region for our community. It's been amazing seeing you thrive in your space and being here to support us in New Zealand at the moment. Maloi ngawe lahi. Again, an amazing panel. We are excited to get into this discussion. So I'm going to kick it right off. I think it's fitting that we start by celebrating the woman in our life. You know, it's International Women's Day. Devi started her address by celebrating the woman in her life. So I think that's the first question that I want to throw to everyone. And I'll start with you, Itangia. Who are the women in your life who have shaped you and the woman that you are today?
very important women in my life would be both my grandmothers, my grandmother Itangia, who I'm named after, and also my late grandmother Funafala, and also my mother for shaping me as a strong Pasifika woman, and all my cousins, my sisters, and aunties who have also paved the way for me.
Perfect, Tangia, and I'm sure they will all be very proud of you as they watch you, as they listen to you tonight. Thank you for that. Michaela, I'd love to hand it to you. Who are the women in your life that I guess have shaped you and influenced you and inspired you?
Where do I begin? They really say it takes a village to raise a child, and I am no different. My mom has been the superhero in my family, in my upbringing. She has definitely shaped a lot about who I am and what I'm doing. She's also in health, and I'm following in her footsteps. My sister has been an incredible role model over in the Cook Islands watching this live stream. My auntie Daph, she's been like a second mum to me. She is my second mum. And all of my aunties, my cousins, all of my friends, my colleagues, everyone has been instrumental in getting me here and shaping who I am today and who I will become. So it's amazing.
Meitaki, Michaela, and yes, your mum is a powerhouse as well. Shout out to Dr. Almir, and I'm sure she's tuning in. Also, a big kia orana to the Cook Islands for those of you who are tuning in to watch your baby girl. She's going to be absolutely amazing tonight. So thank you, Michaela. Felicia, I'd love to hand this over to you as well.
Thank you. My grandmother, Tulikisi Kinepule Ituata, has been someone who was instrumental in my life, alongside my mother, Mary Chris Ikinepule Paapani. And I also want to acknowledge some key woman, Mama Tere Tahere Strickland, who is no longer here with us, who was instrumental as being a mentor for me as a younger person. And then I also think about key people like Debbie Sorenson, who's been instrumental in not only mentoring, but also building capabilities and leadership in my own leadership, but uplifting women all over the place. So I recognize them and every other woman that's played a role in my life. There are so many, from mothers to feeding mothers. Every island in the Pacific, I have a different feeding mother and a different feeding family. So acknowledging every single one of them. And then also my other sisters, Jolene Mataele, Tuisina Imanya Brown. There are too many to name to remember off the top of my head, but also my two lovely team members, Steve Alwina and Amanaki Prestokot Falitau, who are amazing women who uphold me, but uphold so many others out there in the community.
Felicia, like, it's not surprising that when I asked that question, everyone has so many names to say, and you acknowledge the people who also weren't here with us today, and I think they play a massive part in who we are, so thank you for acknowledging them. Brianna?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I have always been inspired by the women that I've just been able to watch throughout my life. And I just remember my favorite thing as a child would be seeing the government building in Samoa around like 8 a.m. to 9, because that's when all the government workers go to work. And like, I always thought that they had like the most beautiful women in like bulatasis and like those like island buns with all the flowers and the red lipstick. And I remember just thinking like, wow, I like want to dress like her. And I a lot of times I didn't know their names. I'd call them auntie if I ever see them. But I would just think, well, I want to be that when I grow up. And if you were lucky, you would see those same women having fun on a Saturday night and then making sure everyone gets to church on Sunday, and then Monday starts and they're in front of the government building again. And those have been the women that have really shaped me as well. Like Debbie said in the beginning of this, you know, the multifaceted, the authentic women that don't try to be one thing, but are all the things. And those are the women that have always inspired me.
Brianna, beautiful, beautiful response. Shout out to all the women who can go out late on a Saturday night and still make it to church and then still make it to work on Monday. We know who you are. You are all loved, and Leone is laughing a little bit too hard there, Leone. But thank you for that, sis. Dr. Flora, who are the women in your life?
Oh, there's so many, as you said. It takes a village, but my mother, Vika Lutui, definitely one, who's helped me through a whole lot of growing up and some hard times through life. My sister, Sela Taufa, and also my grandmother, who I'm named after. She comes from Savasavo in Fiji. And just there's so many women, the church group, everyone around, the aunties, and also the credit to them for the inspiration and all the the encouragement throughout life and brought me to where I am today.
Malo, Flo, thank you for that. And Tupo, thank you for jumping back on. Who are the women that have inspired you, especially in your journey?
For me, it'd be my mom, because through everything, she's always been there. We never grow up the most, secured, secured financially and stuff. So for my mom to go out of her way and just, I guess, do whatever she can to give me everything in the sport that I do and make sure that I'm able to do what I need to do, I guess has made me so appreciative of her. And for me personally, if I could be half the person she is, then that would make me happy, really.
Thank you, Tupo. Thank you for that. Shout out to your mom, Auntie Lose. I hope she's watching as well. But yes, we love hearing these responses from you all, and shout out to all the women that have been acknowledged. Let's get into some questions, some deeper questions. Obviously, International Women's Day, the theme for this year is break the bias. And, Debbie made a really awesome point about, it starts with us. It starts with us. We break the bias, we break the stereotypes. So I'd love to start asking some of our team, our panel here. I guess I'll start with you, Michaela. You're in your 4th year of studying medicine as a Cook Island student, a female Pacific woman studying medicine. Did you come across any bias that you've had to kind of stand up against doing so? And how did you overcome that?
Great question. Thank you, Emily. So I came through the high school path. I went to high school in Auckland, did my undergrad at Auckland Uni, and then came to Otago Uni. So it's definitely been a journey, and I've seen a lot of different things along the way. I think in terms of the healthcare for this year, I'm in the hospitals, and so I'm seeing the day-to-day lives of doctors, the medical team and nursing team and allied staff. I will say that there's a lot of work to be done in terms of caring for our Pacific peoples. There are a lot of instances where the care hasn't been to a standard that I would say is appropriate, in which case there are a lot of steps that I've taken to have discussions with our consultants or with our teams to try and improve that for the future. I think for me, the biggest challenge I had coming through school and uni was leaving my Pacific side at home and then coming to school with a Western kind of view, because in my mind, that was what was the best way for me to succeed. I've since overcome that and realized I have to be me. As Debbie said earlier, I can only succeed really if I'm my authentic self. And in doing so, I realized my Cook Islands heritage is who I am. My family, my upbringing, my lived experiences, they shape who I am and my beliefs and values. And so I've kind of overcome some of these biases and challenges by kind of being who I am, standing on the shoulders of my ancestors, my families, and doing what I think would be best. If that person was my Nana, for example, I would want her to have the best care possible. And so I think in doing so and being myself and being authentic and being true to me, that's kind of been a good way for me to overcome these challenges in the healthcare setting. And I hope to continue to do so in the future.
Hey, Taki Michaela, the future of our health workforce looks incredible, and thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for your honesty as well, and I think you being true to yourself is what we need in that space. So malo. I'll hand it over to you as well, Felicia, with the same question. Again, you have been a beautiful advocate, especially for the Pacific Rainbow community. And I know you would have had to come across, a lot of walls that you've had to walk through that shouldn't have been built in the first place. And so I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the biases that you have come across and how have you overcome those?
Well, thank you, Emily. And, it's always one of those difficult topics to talk about, because when you talk about bias and you understand how bias manifests itself in so many ways, it dredges up so many negative past experiences. And I think that is the point, because I've been experiencing bias since I was a child, for in particular being whakawhiwhine or a trans woman. Or a trans child. Like, bias manifests itself through so many different ways, whether it had been through school, whether it had been through extended family members, whether it had been through being a teenager trying to seek or access services, whether it had been in my adult life being out in a nightclub versus trying to apply for a job, versus trying to fill out a form or a document. Like, it's so apparent in so many parts of our ways of being and living. And I think the one key thing for me around understanding bias is that you can't close yourself off to not understanding how it manifests itself, because once you start to understand how it manifests, how it contributes to putting yourself in a particular predicament, you can then start to understand how you navigate processes to sort of deal with it or manage it, address it in many different ways. So as I think about it, I think, but it's not to say that also that my experiences of bias are limited just to me and my experiences. They manifest themselves for everybody throughout their life. So recognizing that each and every one of us experience a bias in different ways, and understanding also that bias in itself, even though it might seem like it's the same thing, we need to understand also again that it's not always the same thing for different people in different situations or scenarios. And I guess that's the way that I've challenged it, is to be courageous, to be authentic, to be about, like, I'm sorry, there's going to be no more door left if you're going to continue to close doors, because I'll just continue to kick them down. I'll continue to climb walls. I'll continue to, cross over bridges. And I'm not just doing this alone. There are a number of people that, and this is the thing about bias, and finding your key people that are there to stand beside you and behind you to support you through addressing bias as it manifests itself. And leading on to that, I just want to highlight how important relationships are, and honoring relationships, and keeping those relationships sacred to the people that stand with you and support you through those processes and journeys, and how you try to, overcome bias in its many shapes and forms.
Thank you, Felicia. Thank you so much for that answer. I think it's only fitting that we acknowledge you in this space, and we acknowledge those experiences that you've talked about. We thank you for even being willing to share some of those experiences with us, and the way that you hold yourself with such grace is really inspiring. And I think for all of us, we can take something away from that. Relationships are important, and I love that, doors continue to be shut, but you'll continue to knock them down. Walls will continue to be built, but you'll continue to climb them. So thank you for sharing that, Malo. Brianna, I might ask you a question. I've seen you in the climate space, and I've actually been in the room in Madrid with you when you spoke to plenary. And what are some tips that you can give to some of our young women who find it hard to, I guess, speak up in those tough spaces where they feel like they're being challenged?
Yes, my best advice would be to stay true to who you are, and speak from a place of knowing that what you have to say is so important, because I think we live in a world where a lot of the time confidence is mistaken for competence. And there's a lot of people who are overly confident, who fill a lot of spaces. And to be frank, primarily those are white men. They're overly confident, they take up a lot of space, but they might not necessarily be as competent as they make it out to seem. And that can be feel belittling as a Pacific woman or as a woman of color in these big spaces, like the UN, like the government spaces. But I think, something that we have to really try is to stay true to who you are. I remember when I practiced a speech once for one of my UN interventions, and a random man, like I don't even know who he was, came up to me and he said, "Your voice is too high. Like it sounds a bit like scratchy. Like you should try lowering your voice." I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Yes, because Margaret Thatcher did that. Margaret Thatcher lowered her voice to be taken more seriously." And I said, "Well, I'm not trying to be Margaret Thatcher." And I think that's a misconception in this world, is that Pacific women are trying to be white women, and in a lot of times white men sometimes, when we don't want to be the leaders that they've been. We've seen a type of leadership that hasn't been working for our world, and we're in a pandemic, we're in a climate crisis, we're in a racial justice crisis, and that form of leadership isn't working. So if anything, Pacific women shouldn't have to change themselves for the world. The world needs to change themselves for Pacific women, and the world will be better for it.
I feel like I can run through walls now. Thank you for that. And I've seen you do that. And, even just sharing that experience, being asked to lower your voice. One thing I love about our Pacific women is we know how to laugh. We have this, this unique laugh, this unique voice. And I would hope that when, we get to, I get to a point where I have daughters and granddaughters, that I will never tell them to lower their voice, never tell them to lower their laugh for anyone. So thank you for that. And thank you for what you're doing in that space. I guess for you, Itangia, you're a high school student, and it's your final year of school, and I know that some of your friends and some of your high school students will be tuning in to watch. So maybe from you, what are some of the what's some advice you can give other high school students who are feeling like it's already the beginning of the year and they're feeling like they're already struggling? What's some advice that you can give to them?
One thing I always try to remember is to take the day as it comes. As Pasifika students, we always tend to overthink things before it even happens. Also with this process of everyone having to isolate, having half of the school at home, half of the school in school, it's so hard to reach out to all our students. But one thing to remember is that no one's gonna come find a future for you, like whether you're at home or whether you're in school. Like you have to put in the hard mahi to get where you want to be. So like despite the circumstances that we're in and this pandemic, we have to keep pushing, because we're not going to put our lives on hold anymore until the pandemic is over. We want to keep moving forward and prep ourselves for our futures, for our families, our churches, and the village who are behind us.
It's a beautiful message to the students, and like you said, reach out to each other. The future will be found by you if you go looking for it. So thank you for that, Itangia, for that beautiful address to your fellow peers. I'll come over to you, Tupo, if you're okay. You represented us on an international stage, and I can only imagine some of the things that you had to come up against to get there. I guess from you, we'd love to hear, what was that feeling like when you got to stand there and you got to hold up that gold medal for New Zealand, for Tonga, for Otahuhu College, for your family. What was that feeling like, knowing that you stood there and you had overcome a lot of the challenges along the journey?
Being to stand on the international stage at Tokyo last year with the gold medal was just so overwhelming, especially because, when I got back to my phone, like it was just literally hundreds of messages from literally just everyone. So it was just like crazy, especially from the Pasifika community. So many pages, you know, tagging me and you know, just showing pictures and be like, the Boa Neofi, Pasifika woman, not only Pasifika woman, Tongan woman. It was just so amazing, and I just felt so, you know, well connected to my culture in that moment. You know, growing up, you know, swimming is not something you'll see a lot of Pasifika people do, you know, because like with us, it's netball rugby dominated. So for me to be able to, I guess, showcase swimming and just, I guess, be not famous, but also like I guess get awareness. You know, there's other sports out there. It's just really cool for my position. But saying that, I'm really lucky to grow up in a family where my parents and my other family members were actually really supportive, and we actually really had to face my highest, you know, being myself and stuff that I was doing because of my family. They're really supportive and stuff. But I know with a lot of Pacifica women, when it comes to sport, you know, growing up, a lot of families would be like, you know, more just pushing you towards the academic side rather than, you know, pursuing your dream of, you know, becoming a sportswoman. And me personally, you know, like I said, I'm very lucky that my parents are very supportive for me to do what I love to do. But I know that there's a lot of Pacifica women that are wanting and itching to, you know, get into sport and just be able to express themselves that way, but are facing, you know, the trials of their family members not being supportive because, you know, they'll be like, oh, you know, just give us ways to do the sport, you go and focus on sport kind of thing. And I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to break is, you know, Pacifica women can thrive in sport. Look at Valerie Adams, look at Lisa Adams, you know, they're two, you know, very prominent women when it comes to athletics and the sport shop. So I guess for us, we're just trying to advocate for young Pacifica women to just, you know, do their thing. Don't be afraid to go to sport, because it might be something that you're really good at one thing. That's where we're wrong, probably, as athletes. There's not only goals and dreams, but also how others achieve their goals and dreams.
Thank you, Tupo. I'm so sorry. I think we heard most of that. It was still lagging a little bit, but I think from what I gathered with what you were saying, you know, even some of the biases that we I guess face within our own cultural context, you know, within the sporting world, you know, sometimes our families have different dreams for us, but that's based on their own experiences. And I acknowledge you for doing that, and your family for supporting you all the way to an international stage where you got to stand there and hold up the gold medal for all of us. I think a family is important, relationship is important. So we celebrate you, and we celebrate the women who have paved that way for you to be able to stand there. And like you said, you know, not all of us Pacific Islanders do swimming. I think we love to be connected to the Moana, but not all of us swim for some reason. But you've taken that on board, and your family has supported you through that. And here we are sitting in your presence. So malo pito for that, Tupo. Thank you. I'll hand over to you, Dr. Flora. I think, you know, talking about family, talking about relationships, I kind of want to move into, I guess, how we look after ourselves, because it sounds like everyone wears a lot of hats. Everyone plays a lot of roles. And I want to know from you, as a pediatric doctor in Tonga, who is going to do international study, how do you maintain your well-being while carrying all those roles and wearing all those hats?
Thanks, Emily. Well, firstly, well, two things. Firstly, to be able to, you know, self-care and taking care of my well-being, the first thing is I spend time in God's word daily. That's something it's a must do every day. You know, it gives me direction, purpose, strength, and peace for me to get through my days and my tasks. And the second thing I do for my well-being is a good workout. definitely a good workout. Not only are there so many health benefits, both physically and mentally, but it's also time I use to reflect on my day, you know, if it's a good day, or take the learnings if it's a bad day and let it go. So those are the two things I like to do, to stay sane, I guess, with all the work that, that piled up at the hospital.
Thank you, Flora. Thank you for that. I think we can all learn from that. I love, your spiritual connection too, that you stay true to your faith. And I think that keeps a lot of us going. So malo. I might ask the same question to you, Brianna, wearing many roles again, wearing many hats and playing many roles. What do you do for self-care?
I have a very simple answer for that. I'm still learning. I'm not the best at it, if I'm very honest. I'm still learning how to create boundaries and how to look after myself, but that's why I'm here and why I get to learn from people like Dr. Flora. And I think that's something I need to write down as my to-do list tomorrow, is to have to look to the almighty word daily and not just go to it as a first aid kit when you're feeling down, but to actively spend time to take care of yourself and not just think about it when you're not feeling well one day. So thank you. I'm still learning.
I think we're all still learning as well. Thank you, Bri. Itangia, for you, like, again, what do you do for self-care? What do you do for fun? What's fun for year 13s now in 2022?
Nothing's fun at the moment. So many restrictions, but we always try to work around it as a school. And I also know many schools are doing that too, because it's so hard at the moment. Can't hold any gatherings, with all the face masks and stuff like that. For fun, I attend church. Yes, I'm very dedicated to the church. It's the only way.
Thank you, Papitsai. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for leading the way with your peers as well. Felicia, I'd love to ask that question to you. I mean, you are the executive director for Whine, and you do a lot of work in general. So when do you ever find time for yourself? And if you do, what do you like to do?
Well, thank you, Emily. I think it's important to recognize that self-care isn't a New Year's resolution where it starts out really good for 10 days and then it's kind of over and done with. And I think self-care is about having a deeper awareness of self. I think it's about understanding and being attuned to your body, that if you are feeling overworked, if you are you're feeling that your emotionals are heightened as a result of a number of different things, that you need to be able to talk to yourself. And I talk to myself quite a lot, not in the mirror, just to myself in my head, constantly about connecting with that deep awareness, so that I'm cognizant of the things that I could be putting myself at risk of, and just challenging myself constantly to slow down, take a break. But I think it's also important that sometimes we take that for granted. And it's important also to have key people around you, whether they be close colleagues, close friends, who also will say to you, hey, you need to slow down, and that you need to honor that and listen to it as well. So those are key things that I like to incorporate around having greater respect for my inner self, and just being attuned to how I address that.
Away, Felicia. Thank you for that. And yes, slowing down is important for all of us. So thank you for reminding us to do that. For yourself, Michaela, you're a fourth year uni student, and I'm sure navigating a lot. How do you, take care of yourself?
I think for me, because I'm at school 24/7 really, I like to do anything that has nothing to do with uni. I'm gonna be honest, as much as I'd love to say I go for a walk or a hike, definitely Netflix is my go-to, and more recently Disney Plus. Especially after a long day, it's just easy to unwind. For long-term self-care though, I've been getting into journaling. My parents for Christmas bought me these little books about confidence, self-care, mindfulness, and I find them really useful, especially if I've got a full day with patients and I'm just not really sure how I'm feeling to myself. I'll just have a gaze in the book and I usually find a quote or a task that I can do before I go into uni or to the hospital. And that just recenters myself, and it helps me focus on what I want to achieve for the day and how I want to achieve my goals for that day. So I think I really enjoy self-care and journaling. So I do recommend that for anyone who's kind of looking for something to do to help with them as well.
Thank you, Michaela. I love those self-care routines. You know, it could be different for everyone, and journaling is yours. So thank you for sharing that. The bowl, I'll ask you too, and if you start lagging, all good. I know we can kind of make it out, but what do you do, I guess, to look after yourself? And I just like to preface this by saying that the bowl, I think, is self-isolating or away from your family at the moment, hence why the Wi-Fi is lagging a bit. But I know that the bowl is a busy person. She's studying to be a nurse. And I, again, like I said earlier, I am excited. Debbie's really happy about that, but really excited for the future of our health workforce. So Tupou, what do you do for fun, if you could say it in like a sentence?
For me, it's just listening to music. It's a good outlet for me to just release all my emotions. So yeah, just listening to music. Sorry, I'll just keep it short.
No, thank you. We heard that, listening to music. And again, I'm going to plug our Moana Pacific Women's Network Spotify playlist. So feel free to tune in and find some jams there for yourself. But I guess we all have a tune. We've got about 10 minutes left, and I feel like I could sit here for hours and talk to all these beautiful women. But we're going to take some questions, quick fire questions from the chat. There's a question here: how can we support each other as women, encouraging spaces like this? How can we support more spaces like this to celebrate our women, to do things, events like this, away from all the noise? So maybe Flora, how can we celebrate and encourage our women to have spaces like this? What can we do for each other?
I think having more of these is good. Like once a year is not enough. We could probably do this more often. But also it doesn't have to be a special time like this. We can do it daily. We can see. One thing I really like to see is women being able to feel safe going to other women and building each other up. There are a lot of women around us are doing great things, big or small, in their own space, and to be able to encourage and tell them they're appreciated, they're noticed, they're loved, and yeah, so you can do this without having to have a platform like this, but you can do it daily, and share that and let them know the great work that they're doing. Yeah.
Malo pito, Dr. Flora, thank you. Yes, more spaces like this. I saw Debbie nodding, so I'll wait for the work to come through. But thank you, Dr. Flo. There's another question here: what does success look like for Pacific women? And I'd love to ask this to you, Itangia, as a young student. What does success look like for you now? Because I think it'll be interesting, the further you get in life, it might have changed, it might not. So what does success look like for you right now?
I think the most obvious, just everyone making it in life, getting to where they're wanting to go. Also for us students, once we have a plan and once we're empowered and inspired by other Pasifika women, and also everyone, just to hold on to that dream and put in the hard work so you can make it.
Thank you so much. And we've got one more question from the chat. People are asking for Pacific beauty tips, and of course, because we all look beautiful on this panel, I know. So I might ask this, Brianna, I know you beat your face before this and you look beautiful, so I might ask this question to you. What is, I guess, your go-to Pacific beauty tip?
Oh man, my go-to Pacific beauty tip, I think, is coconut oil. I think it's a lot for everyone. Coconut oil in the hair, on the face, everywhere. And I think that will really help you. And cold showers. My mom would always say that to me, cold showers. And I don't know if it's because of an age thing or because she didn't want me to use the warm water in the shower. But my mom looks good for her age, so I would say the cold showers are working. Cold showers and coconut water and oil.
Thank you, Brianna. All of us nodded when you said coconut oil. And I think we might try the cold shower thing because it is pretty hot. It's been pretty warm here as well. So thank you for that. I'll pass over to you, Felicia. Do you have any, I guess, a short sentence of encouragement for our women that are tuning in?
Continue to be courageous, continue to be strong, continue to engage and share with others and bring them alongside you. Just continue to push down doors and climb walls and bridges and build bridges and buildings, and just be successful together. And at any time or any point that there's any time that anyone is talking ill about our women, we all come together and we all address it together and collectively. And just remembering that there's so much division or things that divide our attention, but when we bring it back to about being Pasifika woman and remaining firm on that, the world is our oyster. We can achieve so much together.
Thank you, Felicia. I think that's fitting to close off this panel session, united together. And I think that's the message. That's what I feel sitting here, being able to facilitate this panel. I feel like I've just gained a whole new sisterhood that I can add to my village. So malo apito to every single one of you for sharing your insights, your stories. I just saw a comment on the comment section that someone could, sit here for another hour and listen to this talanoa. And I feel the exact same way. I could sit here and listen to you all. So I just want to start by saying thank you so much for offering your stories, your experiences, offering the good and the bad, the hard times and the good times, for navigating this space with us together, as Felicia said, even through some tech difficulties, we're still here, we're still carrying on, and an hour is not enough to capture what this talanoa could be, but I look forward to more to come. So thank you. I would love to give this time back to Debbie if you have any final closing remarks to close this beautiful session before we close in a loku.
Malo Pito, Emily, and can I first of all start by thanking you for your outstanding facilitation of this, but also the work that you've put in, behind this to actually make this happen. You have a rare gift and talent, and we're really pleased that we get to work alongside you every day. And so thank you so much. Can I thank all the panelists? Itangia, you have an incredible future ahead of you. You are living in a world where you can be and do anything you want, and you have plenty of people around you that only want you to be successful. So you go, girl, you go and do and be whatever you want. Brianna, thank you so much for saving a planet for the future. My grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and those that come afterwards will be forever grateful for the work that you do. And we'd really like to work alongside you more so that we can join up our kind of superpowers together to make this happen. Michaela, you come from a really strong and incredible line of amazing women, and we are so pleased that you're joining our workforce. I think that your mother will be pleased because she can see retirement in her future at some stage with you taking up the reins. So I thank you on behalf of your mother. Tupo, you wanting to become a nurse is just fantastic. You've conquered the world, and now you'll be able to save the world. Nursing is the most incredible gift to give people, to care for them, as they come into the world and as they go out. So anything we can do to support you, we look forward to that. Flora, to see you having achieved what you've dreamt of, watching you over the last 25 years, and to see you being a specialist in your own right and breaking bias every day, as we have known it and seen it in Tonga, is truly amazing. And it's just so lucky that we get to share a bit of your time at the moment. So thank you so much. And Felicia, you are just so courageous, so incredibly generous, so forgiving and so fearsome. And I've learned so much from you and feel it's a real gift actually to be able to work alongside you, and wish that we got to spend more time. Post-COVID, we are definitely drinking wine. Can I thank also Leonie and Sarah Jane from PMN for helping facilitate this and make this happen. We really appreciate your support, and it's great to have you sit alongside us today. For everyone who is listening, you are brave, you are strong, you are smart, and you are Pacific. That is what you are. The sacred space that stands between us is our strength. That is where we get our strength. That is the thing that is so very special. We're forged in fire and passion. We are amazing. We have yet to see our real future. I thank you all for joining us today. It's been a true and humbling pleasure. Malo mo e loto ho ngā ia. Thank you from a grateful servant to you all. Malo pito.
Malo pito Devi. That was a beautiful acknowledgement of every single person here, and not just here, but those who are tuning in. And I'm sure everyone else got goosebumps when you spoke. So thank you for closing us in the most fitting way possible. Again, if you've been tuning in, thank you so much. You'll be able to view this again and just go back and listen to the Talanoa. There's so much to be unpacked from what we've discussed here tonight. And again, I think this is just the beginning of more table talks like this, where we get to unpack, different things around bias and, being us as Pacific women. So maloa pito for tuning in. And in true Pacific fashion, we will always close with a blessing. And I would love to invite Leone from PMN to close us in a lotu. Malo.
Whaftai lava imali mole avanoa. Let us pray. Eternal God, you are the foundation that enables everything that we build to stand. You have given gifts to every woman here to bless and serve each other. You provide all your daughters with gifts to carry out the mission you have designed for us. Speak clearly to us as we meet today, so that we may discern your direction for our lives. Remind us that everything we need is found in you. May your peace, which surpasses all understanding, guard our hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love you all. Ofa lahi atu from everyone here to all of you who are tuning in. Malo.